78 Sports TV here. So I'm checking out my boy Boxing Beats and Rhymes page.
Doing it from Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel.
This is Tony Thompson, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Hank Lundy chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. This is that Mayor Hardcore Man Store on Boxing Beats and Rhymes YouTube channel.
I don't know if you want to answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Floyd Mayweather. How you feel about that?
Well, basically, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
The fight starts and Klitschko clinches straight away. Pulev showing a nice long jab. The best jab that Klitschko's faced in a minute. There's no doubt about that. He's doing well. He's confident. He's coming at Klitschko behind the jab and he's landing. He's got a good tactic as well when Klitschko tries to hold. He's pushing his forearms up. There's Shannon Briggs. Let's go, champ. You know, he just hasn't disappeared. It's a shame, really, in the wake of his best victory that this has been orchestrated by Klitschko with this Shannon Briggs stuff, let's face it. It's been orchestrated by Klitschko. But, you know, Pulev stood in front of Klitschko a little too much right in front of him. You can't do that. A left-hand lead floors Pulev hard. And he's hurt. And he gets back up, another left-hand floors him again. Klitschko is a terrible finisher. That has to be said. When he frames his punches behind his jab and his straight right, there's none better. There's none better in the game. His actual punch quality, when he frames the punch, is great. But his instinctive fighting ability is absolutely dreadful. But he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it because he's so rehearsed with what he does, and it's so well rehearsed with his punches. He doesn't need to be an instinctive fighter. It's working perfectly well. Pulev uses the forearm well to restrain the holding, you know. Round two. Vlad is on his toes. He's on his toes quite a bit. He's trying to offset Pulev's jab, which is a great tactic. There's a lot of rabbit punching by both. It's becoming a jabbing contest, with Klitschko slightly committing with a few more right hands to shade out number two. Round three, Klitschko bouncing a lot more than usual, you know. A right hand lands and Pulev's hurt again. Booming shots, man. And a left hand with a delayed reaction floors him. The power gap is just too much. The professionalism is too much. The seasoning is too much. My guy is doing very well to get hit by them punches and come back. Vlad is, showing a lot more emotion in victory here. Jumping on the ropes is not something he usually does. This meant a lot to him, it being the mandatory. And the emotions coming out. James Ali Bashir, he was very happy. He was elated, and that's great news. That's great news, So yeah, no body work by Klitschko after the finish. He can't throw a combination beyond a jab and a right hand. Like if Tyson or Floyd Patterson got you hurt, or Holyfield, you'll see punches in volleys going to finish you. That's not Klitschko. Sometimes he wants to do it, but he can't. He's stuck in this thing where he has to frame everything. It has to be framed perfectly. But don't get me wrong. I'm not taking nothing away from him in saying that. His framed punches are lethal. Absolutely lethal. It has to be said. There are vulnerabilities there, man. Like I thought he let Pulev rabbit punch him way too much. Didn't use his forearm to keep him off. He tried to clinch. The referee got in there, and because of Pulev's height, he couldn't do that. It was similar to Mario Watt, where the height of the opponent didn't allow him to clinch. And the fights that Klitschko is in nowadays are better when he's in with taller opponents. There's Pulev with the ice pack on his eye, man. He just bruised up, man. Bruised up and battered. Took some big punches. But, Vlad lost his opportunity there. There's the first knockdown from the first round, I believe. Big booming left hand. There's another left hook there. I think that's the second knockdown. Wow. When he frames that shot, man, it's just like, wow, man. You really don't want to get hit by that, man. And that's any heavyweight. Has to be said. But there are opportunities inside for an opponent. There are opportunities inside. And a good jab is what I'm realizing here. If you yourself have a good jab, it gives a different look in how we normally see how dominant Klitschko is. But in saying that, there's a lot of rabbit punches from Pulev. Pulev is putting up a good fight, close round in number 4. Round 4 is quite a close round. Pulev is cut. A big left by Klitschko. Pulev taking the punches, I should say, really well. Close round. Fifth round, Pulev gets hits by some shit in the fifth, and he comes back at Klitschko, and you're thinking, damn, I wonder if the tide can turn, because this guy looks really determined. And it's one of the better fights we've seen with Vlad. But man, Vlad frames that left hook, man, and it was good night Vienna, and he finished the proceedings for the evening. Vlad is very clever as well. Very clever. After the exchanges and the referee would part them, he always beat Pulev to the shot, and he knocked him down numerous times by doing that. Very clever, you know. And it's not just a rehearsed punch, it's actually hard to block, because there's quite a bit of disguise in it. For such a big guy, the hand speed is really impressive, you know. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Like, he really turned his wrist into the final left hook. He really turned his body and his wrist into the shot, and he's a big dude, so there was just no coming back from that, you know. None at all. Did the referee count him out? I don't know. To me, it's a KO. It's a KO victory. Retains all his belts. Takes out his IBF mandatory in grand old fashion, it has to be said. Great performance. And the action was a little scrappy, but very entertaining at the same time. So don't get that twisted, you know. I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. He's just bigging up the fans from Bulgaria and Munich and Ukraine, or from wherever they traveled from. And it's been a good night's heavyweight championship boxing. It has to be said. It has to be said. So credit due to Vlad. I like this performance, and I grade it very high. I give him an A. I give Pulev his props as well for being very brave. A bit foolhardy, you know. Tactics weren't the best. I thought he was going to move a lot more, but I don't know if it's just harder to do that than with Vlad than you might have planned out beforehand. But nevertheless, there you go, people. Good fight. Good finish. Great finish. Excellent finish. One of the KOs of the year. Pulev is putting up a good fight, you know. Close round in number 4. Round 4 is quite a close round. Pulev is cut. A big left by Klitschko. Pulev taking the punches, I should say, really well. Close round. Fifth round, Pulev gets hits by some shit in the fifth, and he comes back at Klitschko, and you're thinking, damn, I wonder if the tide can turn, because this guy looks really determined. And it's one of the better fights we've seen with Vlad. But man, Vlad frames that left hook, man, and it was good night Vienna, and he finished the proceedings for the evening. Vlad is very clever as well. Very clever. After the exchanges and the referee would part them, he always beat Pulev to the shot, and he knocked him down numerous times by doing that. Very clever, you know. And it's not just a rehearsed punch, it's actually hard to block, because there's quite a bit of disguise in it. For such a big guy, the hand speed is really impressive, you know. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Like, he really turned his wrist into the final. A left hand lead floors Pulev hard. And he's hurt. And he gets back up, another left hand floors him again. Klitschko is a terrible finisher. It has to be said. When he frames his punches behind his jab and his straight right, there's none better. There's none better in the game. His actual punch quality, when he frames the punch, is great, but his instinctive fighting ability is absolutely dreadful. But he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it, because he's so rehearsed with what he does, and it's so well rehearsed with his punches. He doesn't need to be an instinctive fighter. It's working perfectly well. Pulev uses the forearm well to restrain the holding, you know. Round 2. Vlad is on his toes. He's on his toes quite a bit. He's trying to offset Pulev's jab, which is a great tactic. There's a lot of rabbit punching by both. It's becoming a jabbing contest, with Klitschko slightly committing with a few more right hands to shade out number 2. Round 3, Klitschko bouncing a lot more than usual, you know. A right hand lands and Pulev's hurt again. Booming shots, man. And a left hand with a delayed reaction floors him. The power gap is just too much. The professionalism is too much. The seasoning is too much. My guy is doing very well to get hit by them punches and come back. Vlad is, showing a lot more emotion in victory here, jumping on the ropes. It's not something he usually does. This meant a lot to him, it being the mandatory. And the emotions coming out. James Ali Bashir, he was very happy. He was elated, and that's great news. That's great news, So yeah, no body work by Klitschko after the finish. He can't throw a combination beyond a jab and a right hand. Like if Tyson or Floyd Patterson got you hurt, or Holyfield, you'll see punches in volleys going to finish you. That's not Klitschko. Sometimes he wants to do it, but he can't. He's stuck in this thing where he has to frame everything. It has to be framed perfectly. But don't get me wrong. I'm not taking nothing away from him in saying that. His framed punches are lethal. Absolutely lethal. It has to be said. There are vulnerabilities there, man. Like I thought he let Pulev rabbit punch him way too much. Didn't use his forearm to keep him off. He tried to clinch. The referee got in there, and because of Pulev's height, he couldn't do that. It was similar to Mario Watt, where the height of the opponent didn't allow him to clinch. And the fights that Klitschko is in nowadays are better when he's in with taller opponents. There's Pulev with the ice pack on his eye, man. He just bruised up, man. Bruised up and battered. Took some big punches. But, Vlad lost his opportunity there. There's the first knockdown from the first round, I believe. Big booming left hand. There's another left hook there. I think that's the second knockdown. Wow. When he frames that shot, man, it's just like, wow, man. You really don't want to get hit by that, man. And that's any heavyweight. Has to be said. But there are opportunities inside for an opponent. There are opportunities inside. And a good jab is what I'm realizing here. If you yourself have a good jab, it gives a different look in how we normally see how dominant Klitschko is. But in saying that, there's a lot of rabbit punches from Pulev.
78 Sports TV here. So I'm checking out my boy Boxing Beats and Rhymes page.
Doing it from Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel.
This is Tony Thompson, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Hey, Lundy, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. This is Amir Hardcore Mansour on Boxing Beats and Rhymes YouTube channel.
I don't know if you answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Wladimir Klitschko. How you feel about that?
Well, basically, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
The fight starts and Klitschko clinches straight away. Pulev showing a nice long jab. The best jab that Klitschko's faced in a minute. There's no doubt about that. He's doing well. He's confident. He's coming at Klitschko behind the jab and he's landing. He's got a good tactic as well when Klitschko tries to hold. He's pushing his forearms up. There's Shannon Briggs. Let's go, champ. He just hasn't disappeared. It's a shame, really, in the wake of his best victory that this has been orchestrated by Klitschko with this Shannon Briggs stuff, let's face it. It's been orchestrated by Klitschko. But, Pulev stood in front of Klitschko a little too much right in front of him. You can't do that.